Resuming. Weird World Order broadcast. Dialer phones connected. Initiating broadcast signal in
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies, gentlemen, and knights of the Nerd World Order, this is the Nerd World Order broadcast. I am the man that you call Dukes, and to my right, it's all about the...
Booyah! What's up? It's your boy, Joe, baby.
And to my other right, weighing in at 178 adamantium filled pounds, coming straight out of Krakoa, Alfonso X-Man Flores.
Hello there.
Hello there, everyone. Today we are going to be discussing the latest installment in the Star Wars series, Ahsoka. Ahsoka was a show that I think a lot of people are anticipating. I know that for years, Joe was telling me, like, Ahsoka's an awesome character. You have to follow her with Star Wars Rebels and Clone Wars. And when I finally got to watch Ahsoka in preparation of this show, I actually got pretty excited. So we're going to dive into a spoiler-filled conversation about Ahsoka. Let's start off with Alfonso X-Man Flores. Alfonso, going into this, what was your expectation of the show?
Dude, I was super stoked about this. Ahsoka has been one of those characters who you're just always like wondering, what happened to, where's she at, what's she doing? I caught a glimpse of her in Clone Wars, and I'm like, ooh, who's this kid? You got the dual lightsabers holding them backwards. I'm like, oh, she's got style, she's got flair. And then, then she pops up in Star Wars Rebels, and she's a little more grown up. And, what else can you expect from the Padawan of Anakin Skywalker?
I think a lot of people wouldn't expect very much because I think for a lot of people, the last, I'll say, exposure that they had to Anakin Skywalker was, let's say, Revenge of the Jedi or Revenge of the Sith. That's what it was. And a lot of people don't have very fond memories of the prequel trilogy. However, I think a lot of people who took the time to watch Rebels and Clone Wars, they actually do have a special fondness for the prequels that the rest of us don't because we didn't actually watch the prequels. However, I wasn't overly excited about it. I did catch up a little bit. I watched Rebels. I watched a little bit of Clone Wars, the essential Ahsoka, if you will, which got me somewhat excited about the show. But I do know that there's a man who was pretty pumped going into this TV show, and that would be Joe. Joe, what was your expectation of this show?
My expectation was pretty high, just because it has Ahsoka in it, and Dave Filoni is a part of it, and I knew it was going to be a Rebel season 5 for me. I mean, because I love the Rebel show, so for me it was more of, even though it was growth with Ahsoka, like I knew it was going to be a Rebel season 5. So I was pretty ecstatic that the show was coming out. So I was looking very forward to it.
Awesome. I'm glad that Joe turned me on to Rebels because last week after watching Ahsoka, I actually went back and watched the final episode of Rebels again, and it was just so much better once you see how it falls in a context with the show. Because in a previous episode, one of the things we talked about was, so when did Sabine become Ahsoka's Padawan? And it's like you can see that there is that time jump. And you do see at the end, which, how did I miss that the first time? That Ahsoka pops up at the end of Rebels after Sabine gives this big long speech about, I have to find Ezra. How did I miss that? But it just totally created season 5 of Rebels just really exciting. Just really, really exciting. So, Joe, I'm going to let you go first because you are our Star Wars expert in this conversation. Overall, what's your thoughts on the show?
I think we talked about it like the first 2 episodes. I think we did a podcast about talking about, for me, it started off kind of slow, but it didn't help that
One Piece, the Netflix One Piece came out like right after that, and Netflix was so good. But so it started off pretty slow for me, but once Anakin, came into the picture, like it got really good for me, and then Balin, like everybody loves Balin in the show. Just the overall cast, once they started popping up, like Ezra, Hera, like more familiar with the stuff, and then you got to see Grand Moff Thawne. It finished strong because usually, like on Disney or Marvel shows, it starts off pretty decent, and then towards the end, it lets you down. Hawkeye being one of them. It started, episode 5 was so good, and then like episodes, I think it was 6, and did it go up to 8? I can't remember. Was it 8 after
Hawkeye?
Yeah. And then it just didn't do anything. Like I think 6 was decent. Then after that, it just didn't do anything for me. To where the end of Ahsoka was really good. I'm looking forward to the future. I know a lot of people were upset because even though it is like a cliffhanger, it didn't leave much answer questions that everyone wanted answered. It left things more unanswered, and people have to guess and figure out where Filoni's going with this. There's a few ideas though that I think a lot of us are knowing where they're going to go with this. But I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too. When you talk about episodes 1 and 2, I remember us having the position that it wasn't very good, and it did feel like a Rebel season 5, but it progressed so well, and just understanding how Ahsoka had to have her journey to trust her Padawan, the way that Anakin trusted her, it was just phenomenal. And if you did take the time to get into the basics or essentials, if you will, of Ahsoka, then you see that progression. You see that people would tell Anakin, oh, you need to disown Ahsoka. And he'd be like, no, that's my Padawan. I'm going to stick with my Padawan. And it was cool how Ahsoka arrived at that. So I thought that was really good. The first 2 episodes, I didn't really care for. Joe, you're right. Like One Piece just blew it out of the water. Overall, One Piece compared to Ahsoka, I feel like they're equal. They're very different shows, but I feel they're equal. And I'm looking for second seasons of both. Alfonso, what do you think of the show overall?
Overall, I mean, I was pleased with it immensely. It gave me a lot that I was expecting, but it gave me a lot that I wasn't expecting. Of course, we didn't know what was going to go on the other side of that dimensional thing. Where the space whales were light on the other side. We find out that it's like an elephant graveyard for them. So, there was a lot to do over there. I don't know if the witches came up in Rebels at all. I think they did, but those were a surprise to me. It's like, it was so cool to see somebody else who has a tap in the vein of the Force, but they're not Jedis, right? We're like, that's one thing about Rebels. It showed us a lot of, you had the wolves, you had that one giant guy, you had a lot of people that can tap into the Force that aren't Jedis, and it's a big world. So it's like, if the Force is all consuming, all, everywhere and all knowing, there has to be different ways to get into it than by just being a Jedi. And we learned that there was. So the way they used the Force was completely different. I mean, you found out that they could reanimate stormtroopers. It was kind of cool. I mean, zombie stormtroopers, to me, that was kind of exciting. I know some people are like, oh, it's a little cliche, but I zombie stormtroopers, I don't see anything wrong with that. The one thing I was curious about is where the heck did they get a Jedi? They resurrected some Jedi or what do they call them? The ones that worked for the Sith. Joe.
Inquisitors.
Yeah, Inquisitors. Yeah, where they get a random Inquisitor, I like the idea of they were thinking of people were saying that it was going to end up being that one guy. My gosh, I should have done a little more research. That one guy from that one Star Wars video game, Star Killer, right? That would have been kind of neat to see, but I mean, that would have taken the story away from Ahsoka, which, I mean, the whole Rebels thing did take it away from Ahsoka a bit. It was really cool to see Jason, the son of Ramona Flowers and the other Jedi. Oh my
Hera.
Kanan.
Oh my gosh. It's like I knew that, but it's like all of a sudden I felt like I was sharp today, and I'm losing it little by little, but you guys are there for me. I appreciate that. Good looking out.
Dude, I'm shocked that I'm remembering names. I'm so bad at remembering names too.
I'm like, I watched this 24 hours ago, so I remember some of it.
Like, yeah, the one thing that really surprised me that I really liked is the one part, of course, everybody sees Jason. They're like, oh, is he force sensitive? Is he going to be the next Jedi? What's going on? And he's like, listen, do you hear it in the waves? Lightsabers. And like the whole time I'm listening, I'm like, what's he hearing? I'm going to hear it first. And of course, they didn't actually let you hear it until she could hear it. So it's like, it's like, oh. So I love the fact that they showed that he was force sensitive, because why wouldn't he be, right? So who knows? He could be the next somebody to carry on the franchise under Ezra.
Oh, yeah, totally. I have a question for you guys. Is there something I didn't understand, even when watching Rebels? So, the kid with the green hair
Jason.
is Hera and Kanan's son?
Correct.
When was she pregnant?
He used the force.
Well, she was pregnant the whole time. Like, she was pregnant. But, it just revealed towards the end.
Of season 6?
Yeah, I don't think it was the last season when Kanan died. I think.
Okay.
I can't remember. I think
Yeah,
there
was a couple times where you see her rubbing her belly, those classic signs.
Okay. I was just wondering, but that's cool. That makes sense. And that's one of those subtle things. Like, if I went back and I watched it another time, I'd probably see that and be like, oh, okay. Because it's pretty cool. We're all swinging on the Filoni appendages, but the guy he mapped it out so well. And if you think about it, he couldn't have known that. Maybe he was, planning another season of Rebels, but there's no way that he could have known that someday he would have his own Star Wars universe to play, like live action Star Wars universe to play in. But when you see how well everything was laid out, it just makes me so excited for this second season of Ahsoka, or anything, as long as Filoni's involved, because I feel like he's creating an architecture that, I'm going to say it, that Marvel used to. And that's what makes me really excited for whatever's coming next with Star Wars.
Yeah, with Filoni, I think he willed it into existence. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy, because he stuck things in Rebels that, like, come to fruition way later, like even Grogu protecting the Mandalorian from the flames, right, with the Force, and that was there. There's like even the painting on the wall. I mean, and I saw this one thing with Katie Sackhoff, and she's like, yeah, one time he told me that one day I will play that Mandalorian. Bo-Katan. My gosh. I would play Bo-Katan live, and she goes, I loved it. I thought it would be a great idea, but I never thought it would happen. But he just willed it into existence. And that's so awesome for him. That's awesome for us.
It really is. Joe, I'm going to throw a quick question at you, because I just find the concept of Force witches to be so cool, because like Alfonso talked about, it's like Jedis use the Force, and for a long time we thought only Jedis can use the Force. That's the way that it was portrayed. But now you have these Force witches who are able to manipulate and yield and use the Force. How were they portrayed in Rebels and in Clone Wars?
I'm just amazed that you knew some of these, characters' names in the Rebels. Can we talk about that? Like, what the hell's going on, dude? Well, George Lucas said in an interview, like, the Force is all around us. Anyone has the ability to use the Force. It's just some are stronger than others. And so I think Filoni is just tapping into that a little bit more, and because he really loves wolves. So if you notice, there's wolves in Rebels, and there's wolves in Ahsoka, and then the world between worlds, there's wolves on like paintings. So he's really into that, and taking what Lucas said to heart, like anyone can use a Force, like the wolves use the Force. You got the whales that can use the force, to go through like light speed. And now the witches in some form, or whether it's like sorcery, is still tapping into that side of the force, which is the sorcery, and that's it's cool breaking off and doing those little things. I really enjoy it because it's not like either you're a Jedi or you're a Sith. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's those are the only ones that could do the force, so it's kind of cool. And like he's cleaning up trash, I think, because the newer Star Wars movie, it's like, hey, everyone can wield the force. This little kid that's random, like a slave, like I think it was a slave. At the end of the movie, he just brings the broom and it comes to him. He starts sweeping, that's just like cheap storytelling, I think. You know what I mean? Where he's created, like if you see a wolf in Ahsoka or any Star Wars movies, that's Dave Filoni. So and he sets things up, like he says he had where Ahsoka's going, and he doesn't just want to tell us right away. So I'm pretty sure like Filoni has thought that far out. Now, everything dictates whether or not Mandalorian is successful, right? Because Mandalorian is so successful with him and John Favreau. And everything went so well with Mandalorian, they give you the power to create more stuff. And, with this one, with Ahsoka, we're going to get like, I can't remember the new one, where it's kind of like the old Republic Jedis.
It's not the High Republic, is it?
I don't know if it is or not. I can't remember. I know they're doing that, and then they're doing like another one, and I can't remember the name of that one coming out. But they're doing those, and I think Ahsoka season 2 is going to come out before the movie where it ties everything together. But it almost looks like they're going to do a trilogy movie because it's everyone, dude. Everyone is all the hardcore Star Wars fans really enjoyed Ahsoka. And everyone says, "Oh my gosh, this is what Star Wars is." And so, like, the masses are so happy, the way that Ahsoka turned out, that maybe Filoni was going to do one movie and it turns into a trilogy.
I'd be down for a trilogy, and I feel like it's cool because I feel like our kids are going to be able to have their trilogy that doesn't feel like it's a ripoff of the New Hope trilogy. Because I feel like the prequels didn't feel like a ripoff of the New Hope trilogy, but the last three, let's call them the Rey Skywalker trilogies, I don't know what they're called as far as the trilogies, those just feel like a complete ripoff of, the original trilogy. But the way that they're doing Star Wars right now, specifically Favreau and Filoni, it feels so fresh and so original that I feel like it's going to be a good way to get people who've been turned off by Star Wars a way to get them back in.
Right. And, like at the end of just what he did with Anakin, bringing it back between worlds, just that scene alone everyone's like, oh my gosh, Anakin, because I thought, the prequels, like it was cool to see Anakin in there, but I felt like in the Clone Wars anime, you got to see more of Anakin, and you like Anakin a lot better with, especially with the dynamic with Ahsoka. And I feel like that's what he's giving Anakin, kind of like the redemption, like Jar Jar, the guy that plays Jar Jar, like he gets his little thing, but he's doing Anakin so much justice, and the next trilogy, like this is what Filoni can do. They call it Legends now, but I've talked to this briefly before. The Heir of the Empire. It's like Timothy Zahn, whatever. I butcher nerds all the time. Anyways, he made books of trilogies where it was set place after Return of the Jedi, and it was a sequel. And those are the books that introduced Grand Moff Thawne, which he was on a mission to get Luke Skywalker. And so that's what he was doing the whole time. He was chasing Luke Skywalker. So he has an opportunity, dear Filoni and John Favreau, is to make the next trilogy that whole Heir of Empire. And what that does is you don't have to reboot, which I've been saying all the time. You can use a War Between Worlds or reboot. You don't have to worry about doing that. But what you could do is, because you still have that gap before the First Order, right? You can do Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Lando, all recast, right? And Mark Hamill said he's okay with recasting Luke and do Luke Skywalker justice in those 3 trilogies. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you get to see what should have happened in 7, 8, and 9. And you already have the guy that played Han Solo. You already have him cast. You already have Lando Calrissian cast. So you could do the computer AI like they did with Luke Skywalker and Mandalorian, or you could just recast a new Luke Skywalker or Leia and just do it all over again. And that will make a lot of Star Wars fans happy. It'd make me happy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, remember how they kept showing Sebastian Stan as Luke Skywalker? I mean, when they did that mock up, he looked so perfect. He looked right on.
But to your point, Alf, he's too old.
I was thinking that as well, because that's the first thing that popped in my head too. But then I thought about the actor that is Han Solo, and obviously Childish Gambino is Lando Calrissian. Mm-hmm. They're a little bit younger than Sebastian Stan, so I don't know if those ages will line up.
Oh.
Yeah, because I think they're all similar around similar ages, like maybe minus 2 or 3 years, I would think.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as that goes, I am excited for what's going to be coming with Star Wars. One of the things that I felt like, I feel like the show took a little bit of a shift in that when it wasn't an Inquisitor, but it was like a guy in a black sort of armor, and Ahsoka basically did him in pretty quick. I felt like he was going to be a more important character, but I'm glad that they didn't go with him, the one that everyone thought was Starkiller. I'm glad that they didn't focus on him and that they went the route that they went, because that would just be, it's another Sith, or it's another anti-Jedi, whatever. It's another bad guy wielding a lightsaber. But Thrawn doesn't have a lightsaber. His henchmen or henchwomen don't have lightsabers. There's just so much new stuff that they brought in there. Now, Joe's known Thrawn for years, and I remember years ago, Joe was talking about these books, and he was talking about Grand Admiral Thrawn, and like he was way ahead of everyone else on that. But then, like when they brought in these stormtroopers, but they have all of their armor pieced together, and you have the leader with the golden face because they had to use whatever they could find. It just creates so much excitement and so much mystery. I'm glad that they just didn't stick with that initial, it's another guy with a lightsaber. Even, let's see here, is it Balin? Like, he was a villain, but he was a different kind of villain. He wasn't a Sith. He was a disenfranchised Jedi. Just so much ingenuity and so much next level and so much freshness went into this show. So one thing I want to talk about is the idea of Ezra, because initially Ezra didn't appeal to me. And I'll be honest with you guys, he still doesn't appeal to me. He's cool. I get, he's supposed to be the main protagonist now, but he just doesn't appeal to me. So overall, where do you guys see Ezra going as far as, will he become the new Luke Skywalker? How do you think he's going to play out in this whole franchise moving forward?
Yeah, I was actually kind of expecting a little more from Ezra. There was a lot of speculation that by the time they got to him, that he would have rebuilt his blaster lightsaber. That would have been kind of cool to see. I did like that he did homage to his master's lightsaber though. But I just felt like, he's like, no, I don't need a lightsaber. I got this. I've been practicing, and all he's doing is trying to, force push here, force push there. And all that time there, just practicing nothing but force pushing. I mean, I felt that he could have been a little stronger. He could have been just like, wiping people back and forth, left and right, throwing rocks at them, crushing them with the ships or whatnot. But I really wanted more out of him. Maybe they're just saving it because this is the Ahsoka show, so maybe they're just like not trying to put him in the spotlight so much, even though he's kind of the focus of the whole thing. So I don't know. That's the main thing, is I just wish I had a little more out of Ezra.
What about you, Joe? Where do you see it going?
Yeah, it's I don't know. That's the beauty of it. I just don't know because he's gonna connect everything to the First Order. So where does Azra go? Where does Jason go? Is Jason part of like? Is he going to be where he was training with Luke and then Kylo kills him? You know what I mean? Is he part of the ones that they kill? You know, um, I'm okay with Azra. Like, I mean, dude, he's stranded on a planet, bro. Like, all of Grand Thon's his his troops are all dead. They're like zombie dust, bro. He doesn't have a lightsaber no more. He doesn't have to fight anybody. He's been living with those little munchkins. So for me, it's I was just cool with him. Without the lightsaber, he was cool with the force flow, like blocking stuff, using force to throw. And then when he got his lightsaber, he's able to cut some things up. Him making a lightsaber again is him, becoming a Jedi again. It's kind of weird because they're erasing like you don't need to get the service cross of like, hey, you're a Jedi now from like like the hierarchy of Jedis. Now it's like when you reach a certain level, you're just kind of like already a Jedi, just like Ahsoka is right now. Like you don't need to really have anybody say, hey, guess what, you're a Jedi now. Obviously because she has a Padawan now. But for me, like it's very interesting, to touch on the Balin that you're talking about. Balin, like he's not really a villain. So the way I protect it is he's seen what the Jedis did, right? He understands, and I want to say he's kind of like a Qui-Gon and Count Dooku kind of thinking, where he sees a Jedi Council and the way that Jedis are getting too involved with things. They're not fighters, right? They're bringing it, they're there to stop war like fighting, but they became generals, General Kenobi, General Anakin, and they're fighting a war. Jedis aren't meant to do that. And I think Balin had seen that, and I think he embraces both sides of the dark side and the Jedi. And I think he thinks you can coexist with teeter-totting on both sides of the light and the dark. It's not so much against each other. And it kind of sucks because, rest in peace, Ray Stevenson. I know they had more, this is my opinion, but I'm pretty sure they had more footage of him and where the story's going to go. And I think that's why that season finale wasn't as long as everybody thought it was going to be, because they just showed him towards the end looking over a mountain, which is, Mortis, the father and the brother or the son, but the daughter's head's cut off because, everyone knows that's Ahsoka. She's in Ahsoka, or what they're saying is the owl that follows Ahsoka, but her spirit is within Ahsoka, and that's how she get back to life. But it kind of sucks because, I was thinking, and there's a few other people thinking like Balin is looking for, and the voice is calling out is Alabatros, I think, or something like that. And she's pretty much like the mother that to the father, mother to the son and the daughter. Mm-hmm. And her biggest fear is they were immortal. She's not. And she wanted to be with her family forever. So then she got into like the dark side of the force and read books and stuff like that. And then she ended up getting, a lot of power, but she becomes evil. And so she can take over people's bodies. And, people were saying, what if she comes back as Padme? That'd be pretty cool, huh? Having Padme come back and she's like, that's her, but it's the mom kind of thing. So everyone had theories of that's who's calling out to Balin to help resurrect her so she can come back. And that's when the force changes, to more so towards the dark. Mm-hmm. But it kind of sucks because we'll never know. And, I'm bad at names. I think it's Gary at the comic book shop. He had a good theory. Like you could continue his arc through a comic book and then, explain, what he's doing. And if he gets killed, it's easier in a comic book to explain that you don't have to recast him. So you could either recast him or, tell his arc in a comic book. And he was such a good element to the show. But Ray Stevenson was good in this. I really enjoyed his portrayal of Balin, and it's just unfortunate.
Shout out to Gary at the comic book shop, because that's a great idea.
Right.
Let me throw a curveball at you. Since Filoni is so experienced with animation, would you consider them doing an animated show, even though they don't have Ray to do the voice? Or do you feel like they should just go comic book and respect Ray?
I think they could do that, or they could do the AI like they did Luke Skywalker and Mandalorian.
Oh, good point.
I mean, there's different options, but
Yeah.
I don't know. With this whole AI thing, people get so pissed off at that, like the writers and the directors, everyone's getting so upset with that. So I don't know if they'll go the AI route.
Probably not. I would think, though, that comic book idea, that's a really good idea. Or even I would watch a whole Balin show with him and his adventures on the planet, sort of building everything up and then having that transition. I'd be so down for that. That's such a good idea.
Yeah, you could do it because Disney, how they it's not Visions, it's what's it called? I don't remember. Remember when they had the animation? No, it was with they did Ahsoka when she was a kid, and they did Count Dooku of how he transitioned. I think it's Tales of the Jedi. So anyways, you could do that. You can create, you could do a whole arc about that, and but I feel he had a mission, man. There was so much stuff they were going to do with him. It's kind of tough to,
How would you guys feel about him being recasted?
I'd be okay with it.
I mean, yeah, to carry on the story. I mean, there's somebody you could find that's similar in stature, and But the other question too, it's like, didn't Balin Skull have a red lightsaber?
No, it was orange.
It was orange.
It was orange.
And what about his Padawan?
It's orange too. They have orange lightsabers.
Oh man, that changes my whole thought process. Appreciate
Yep. Oh well, not only that. I mean, look, he's wearing black still, right?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like that's the color to reject the Jedi. That's what it seems like, right?
Yeah.
Because Anakin wore black, Luke wore black, Balin wore black. But if you look at his Padawan, still has that little braid of the hair, so he still embraces some parts of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, look at Kanan. Kanan was dope, dude. But he was a Padawan who grew up to be a Jedi, but wasn't named a Jedi, who had a girlfriend in Hera.
Right.
Because it's funny because the motto is, they always say, trust your feelings. Okay, well, if I'm in love with a girl, I'm trusting my feelings because I love her, but yet you're telling me I can't love her. So how can I trust my feelings that I love her if you don't want me? You know what I'm saying? So I can see Balin. I'm like, you're right, bro. Like, what are you telling me I can't be in love with someone? Which I like in Legends because Grand Admiral Thrawn hired Mara Jade to go bounty hunter to go kill Luke Skywalker, and she ends up falling in love with Luke Skywalker. She ends up being a Jedi. They have kids, so it's I love that, dude. I don't agree with the part where like Jedis can't be in love or have kids. So you can't trust in your feelings if you can't react to your feelings. You know what I mean? It's just,
isn't that a way to make just stronger Jedis, to have Jedis, procreate?
I don't know if you think like if you would have just let Anakin be with Padme, none of this would ever happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because you can't go see her. You can't do that. Even Obi-Wan before Bo-Katan's sister died.
Oh yeah.
Obi-Wan was in, he probably would have been, like in love. He was in love with her. He probably would have left with her, but she ended up dying. But, telling Anakin you can't love somebody, dude, and he's already been married and in love, and then you reject him. If you think about it, the true cause of Anakin becoming Darth Vader is the Jedi Council.
Yeah, that's 100% true. Interesting. Jumping back to Clone Wars a little bit. Anakin is such a better character because of Clone Wars. I definitely didn't care for Anakin after the prequel trilogy. Like, not at all. But the way that he was portrayed in Clone Wars, it'll just completely redefine how you look at him. And to Joe's point, you see that progression where he starts looking at the thing that the Jedis are doing and the way that they treat his Padawan and everything like that.
Yep.
It's like that. It's that build that you didn't see before. And to me, it always felt like that jump from I'm Anakin. I met this girl, had these babies. Now I'm mad. Now I'm a Jedi. Now I got my legs burned off. it just went really fast. Like
Mhm.
it was, but now I'm like, I understand it. And I like this guy. So
Yeah.
when he switches, you're like, man, like it feels different, which is very
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
So let me throw a question out at you guys. Looking at the entire show, is Ahsoka really the main character or is Sabine the main character?
Ahsoka is. Let me explain. So Ahsoka's whole journey is, if you notice, she goes from her black robe to pretty much Gandalf the White, because Filoni's a huge Lord of the Rings fan. But if you ever rewatch the episodes of, she feels guilty for abandoning Anakin Skywalker, because in Ahsoka's mind, she feels if she didn't turn her back on Anakin the day he left to go to the counselor, to save him, she would have been able to help her, like, stop. Because if you look at the series of Clone Wars, they had a really close relationship, and she feels guilt for turning her back on him, not the Jedi, but on him, and feels she's the reason why he went to where he went, to the dark side, because she feels she could have prevented that. She feels hesitant to train Sabrine because of, look what happened. Because Sabrine have lost a lot of her family Mandalorians when I can't remember that guy's name from Mandalorian. I don't remember his name. What's that guy's name, dude? He's a good actor too. I don't remember the name of the character that he played.
Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah, what was his character's name?
Character.
I don't remember.
No, he's not a Darth. He was
Moff Gideon.
Moff Gideon. There we go. So he destroyed pretty much Mandalore, and so Ahsoka's biggest fear is, if she trains him because she's so upset, she could go to the dark side like Anakin. So the whole training of her when she met Anakin was like, Snips, do you want to live? You want to die? And she chooses, like, if you look real quick when they're fighting, when she gets ready to beat him, you can see her eyes start to turn. And then she stops fighting because she's like, no, I want to live. And that's the whole lesson, is Anakin's like, look, choose to live. It's not your fault. I did what I did, but I'm Anakin now. So it's a growth for her in that whole series. I think without Ahsoka, there's no Sabrine. No, there's no Sabrine without Ahsoka. And so that's why I think it's more so Ahsoka's arc of her transition to be the Jedi. That's why she turns, she has a white robe now.
Interesting. Alfonso, I'm going to let you be the tiebreaker on this one. The reason I feel like it was more of a Sabine show is because at the end of Rebels, Sabine gives this little monologue where she's like, oh, I've learned so much and I have to go find Kanan and... I'm sorry, Ezra, not Kanan. I have to find Ezra. And then it felt like everything that progressed in... Not everything, but most of it was a result of Sabine's actions, inactions, bad decisions, whatever. And the cool part, when she did the force throw and she threw Ezra over to the other side, to me it just felt like all of that was just very focused on Sabine, which is why I felt like it was more of a Sabine show.
The whole point is, like, the lesson that Anakin was trying to give Ahsoka is, and she got out of it, who always had her back? It was Anakin. No matter what, through everything, he never turned his back on her. So the whole lesson is for her to do the same thing with Sabine. So because she's telling Sabine, like, yo, I'm never going to turn my back on you. I'm always going to have you back. I'll respect your decision. I think that right her, if she doesn't say that to Sabine, I don't think she's able to do that force throw, because that was her growth, because that's what made her have confidence. Okay, because she has the self-doubt is gone, because now she doesn't feel like she's going to let Ahsoka down. Because every time, if you look at all her decisions, she's always, I let you down, I'm sorry, to where Ahsoka said, you're not letting me down. I'm gonna trust in whatever decision you make. I'm gonna be there for you, just like Anakin used to be for her.
That's a pretty good perspective. Can't say I necessarily see flaws in it. Alfonso, what say you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't feel like it was a completely like it was the Ahsoka show. I think they should have come up with a different name for it because, a lot of it was centered around her. But you're right, a lot was centered around Sabine as well. I mean, why not be the Ahsoka and Sabine show, the Ahsoka and Sabine Power Hour? It was I would say equally each of theirs. I wouldn't say it was just Ahsoka's show. I mean, there was long periods of times where we weren't even seeing her, but I wouldn't say it was entirely Sabine's show by herself either. So I don't know. I'm thinking the Ahsoka Sabine Power Hour. So that's my vote.
So I'd like to apologize to everyone for saying, Alfonso, I want you to make a decision.
I made a decision. Combined.
You said, let's go 50-50. It's everyone's show. Everyone's happy. That's cool.
Should have been the Chopper show.
Dude, Chopper. Chopper's interesting. Was Chopper actually in the show? I can't remember.
Oh
yeah, bro, he's in Rebels.
Yeah,
I know he was in Rebels, but was he in Ahsoka?
Yeah. Remember when he was Chopper was in there?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what was his name? Who's the big green guy?
Oh, I can't remember his name. Yeah, he was in Mandalorian.
Yeah, but he didn't make it into this.
That really surprised me because he showed up in Mandalorian. I thought he was gonna. Oh my gosh, what is it? But I really thought he was gonna show up.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, there's another disappointing thing. I really would have liked a small snippet of Luke showing up, or at least Luke and Ahsoka having a conversation on that planet before she left. Of like, so my father was your master. What was it like? Tell me about my dad who didn't raise me but raised you. I mean, it's kind of like when Luffy and Usopp were talking about Yasopp. He's, oh yeah, I was hanging out with your dad all the time. He's a really cool pirate. It's like, must be nice, because he wasn't around me.
Well, the cool thing about it is with Anakin being the father in the world between worlds, is how do we know he hasn't talked to Luke already?
That's true. And that's his position now, right? He is the surveyor of that area now, right?
Yeah, that's what I think. That's why you see him at the end, where she looks and she kind of smiles. You know what I mean? Because that's like her closure of like accepting. He did become Darth Vader. He's saved now. You know what I mean?
Right.
And she can move on without guilt. And Anakin's like, hey, dude, it's my decision. It's not yours. You know what I mean? No matter what you did, you could have been there, and I still could have turned. The way he was thinking.
Right. Yeah. When are we gonna get these Force Ghosts to come out singing "I'm blue and I'm not blue"?
I certainly hope that doesn't happen. But hey,
right?
Alfonso can hope, right?
Yeah.
So, does Anakin and Darth Vader exist simultaneously because the world beyond worlds is sort of without time or space?
I mean, in that different time period, because world between worlds, there's pockets and different realities of time, and that's why I think that's why Balin's trying to get in there, because I bet you Balin, this is just my theory, and there's other people that think the same way. He could use those portals to go back and change the way things are done before, right? Mm-hmm. Or he could go find other Force users and just create a different Jedi society. Maybe not even be a Jedi, but just, I think his vision, because I think Balin just knows what didn't work and what can work. And I think that's what ultimate goal for Balin is that's what he's trying to do. But it's I mean, just the whole Anakin and Ahsoka scene where, with the flashback with the Clone Wars, people were so excited about that, and it was done very well. And I'm just so glad that, because Anakin got a lot of heat, like Hayden Christensen got a lot of heat for playing Anakin, because they felt like, even back then, social media wasn't how it was, and people were still like, he's not good, this and this and that, and for him to be an Obi-Wan and everybody getting hyped that he's in it, right? And then he's in Ahsoka, and everyone's just losing their mind. I'm loving it because I feel Filoni's doing really well. Is getting Hayden Christensen like the love that he deserves, man, and he's doing it. Anakin Skywalker Clone Wars, like so it's dope. You know what I mean? So I'm excited. I'm excited for Marvel's letting me down. I can count on like Star Wars right now, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's all Disney.
It's still Disney, but at the end of the day, it's Dave Filoni. As long as like they bring in money for Disney, I don't think they care. They just want money. I mean, they're rich, and if he does it his way and he's making money, they're like, go ahead.
That's actually an excellent point because Disney in 2023 has had a series of failures. Mm-hmm. All their animated movies bombed. The Marvel movies aren't producing the way that they used to. So they need an infusion of box office success. I could see like a fast track / green light for Filoni to get his Star Wars concepts in on the big screen. Now, my concern is that they push him too fast and the product isn't as good as it is when nobody paid attention to what he was doing.
I almost think that Filoni has a backlog of stuff. I mean, he still the words have to be written, but he has the blueprint for everything. Mm-hmm. He has to it because like I said, all the little things that he has, all the little Easter eggs from before, and just the cartoons that are coming to fruition now. He's got things that he's got laid out. Mm-hmm. So that's one good thing. It's proper planning. It's like, now how do we get there? I don't know if did you guys see the article about with the Marvel stuff, the way they've been doing
rewrites?
Yeah, they were doing the rewrites. They're kind of running it kind of like Saturday Night Live, but where they're not getting actual scripts, they're not having a plan, they're not having a blueprint, they're not having a guide. So, it's like, even though I tried to love everything, and I do, I could see that. I could definitely see that. I see your guys' points, and it's like, it was better at the beginning. What happened, and we find out what happened. It's like, so they're rewriting all the Daredevil stuff. Mm-hmm. I was excited to see that soon, but we'll see how that comes out. I'm still excited to see Loki. Let's see how that goes. I know you guys aren't as on board with it, but
yeah. To your point, Filoni, he already knows where he wants to go. It's just a matter of time building it. Like for TV shows or movies, planning it wide, but he already has a plan, and that's what I like about Filoni is not only is he a Star Wars fan and he's been taught by George Lucas, this man has a plan. And John Favreau, he's a good writer too, but he also goes, hey Dave, what do you think about this? And so those two minds together, they're really at the front of it all. They're Star Wars fans, and so that's what makes it good because they think like a Star Wars fan. Would you like this or you don't like this? Now, a lot of people are upset with, how it ended, Ahsoka ended, because it doesn't really answer much, but isn't that what Star Wars always does? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, like, Empire Strike Back. Remember when Han Solo got taken away and then, Luke Skywalker was getting his hand redone, and then Lando and Chewbacca was like, hey, well, and they took off. So it's like, but in this day and age, people are like, they expect a lot. I mean, I would have loved, don't get me wrong, I would have loved to have more answers. There's the questions I had, but in true Star Wars fashion, it ended. Thrawn won. He's back. You got Hera and you got Azra in one end, and then you got Ahsoka and you got Sabrina across the unknown galaxy. I mean, that's how Star Wars, that's how it ends. And you got to wait.
Yeah, it is a rather perfect ending if you think about Empire. Like, it feels like Empire. It feels like Rebels was the New Hope, and then it feels like this season was Empire. And okay, what's going to happen next? It may happen over 3 shows, may happen over 3 shows and a movie, but I'm looking forward to it. Like, I don't need the journey was so good that you can drop me off at this checkpoint and I'm willing for another Dave Filoni bus to pick me up and take me the rest of the way.
Yeah, because you can use these other shows to reiterate how dope Grand Admiral Thrawn is. You can build him how he's growing his empire, for when the movie comes out. And so time, man, you give this guy, hey man, he's got the ingredients, bro. Just let him cook, man. He gonna cook up a meal.
And the thing about Thrawn is everything that a person says, oh, I'm going to do this. He's already, like Joe said, he's always 3 steps ahead. And he continues to be 3 steps ahead. Even when he brought out the zombie stormtroopers, it was like Ahsoka and Ezra, they were like, oh, these guys are down. But no, Thrawn's 3 steps ahead. So it was like, boom, they pop back up. They're not ready for that. And Thrawn knows that. Just amazing. So when he gets on the big screen and people see him and they see how smart he is and he's not Darth Vader, he's a very cerebral villain, people are going to be blown away.
You had the sisters in the other place, and they were able to resurrect all the stormtroopers. So the one witch that was here, or not here, but like in the regular Star Wars universe, she was the one that resurrected the Inquisitor, right? So clearly there might be more people that are resurrected as well. There might be more Inquisitors out there. There might be there's a whole lot of adversaries that they can come up with just with having these sisters and their witchy ways.
Those witchy women of the Force. I'm going to ask you guys a question as we start to wind down. The way things are going right now, really good. Filoni and Favreau are all over it. However, there's talk of having a Rey Skywalker movie. Should they leave the sequel trilogies alone, not even go to them anymore, and just let Filoni and Favreau continue on this path for now? Alfonso.
Why not get Filoni and Favreau on board with that? I mean, why not kill her off? Why not? There's a lot that they could do. Man, that's a tough one. I don't think they should let it go. I'm not a big fan of them just like erasing everything and starting over. I think they got to, they dealt the cards and now they got to play this game. You know what I mean? They got to find a way to clean this up, and the best way to clean it up is going to be Filoni.
Yeah, I think Filoni's and Favreau is so good. If they're not going to have any input on that Rey movie, I think it's going to bomb, because there's going to be a comparison, like kind of like, they did strike out on Boba Fett, but I feel Boba Fett didn't do too well because of Mandalorian. I think Boba Fett should have been Mandalorian if you really want to go, get critical, like. Everyone's so hyped up on Mandalorian that, Boba Fett came out. Everyone was hyped to see it, but, we always talk about this. Avi always says that fan service.
Yeah.
And I think that's what that was. I felt like you could have probably did it better in a comic book or an anime. We didn't need a whole TV series about it. But I think if you do a Rey Skywalker movie, who's going to care about that, man? Like, no one cared about the last one, and Filoni is so good. It's like he should be like, yo, bro, I'm already cleaning up the mess that you guys did now. You know what I mean? You're gonna try to make me clean up that mess too. He's cleaning up the in between Return of the Jedi to I don't even know the new Star Wars episode 7. I don't even know.
Force Awakens.
Yeah, Force Awakens. He's cleaning up from that time period. right? And so he's connecting everything that's going to connect to that, and he's cleaning it up and making it the First Order. Like, how'd they come about? No one knows that. They didn't even explain it. They just said far, far galaxy away, there's the First Order, you know? And Filoni, what he did was in Mandalorian, remember how he did like there's still some remnants of the Empire that they're strategically setting up the rebels, and they're showing how the rebels got lax after winning the war and they don't care about fighting anymore. So he showed that in that. If you take that away from Filoni, you don't even know anything about that. So I feel he's cleaning up all that stuff. And if they come out with this Rey movie, everyone's gonna be pissed. And does he have to clean that up too? You know, so to your point, Alf, I think if it doesn't have Filoni or Favreau's hands in it, dude, why even bother, man? Don't even invest in that, bro. Invest in the trilogy that they need to do about the, you know, with the heir of the Empire, with Grand Moff Thawne. That's just my opinion.
I think both of you nailed it.
Well, you know, you also got that one other part of the universe and the part of the time. Andor, you know, Andor isn't. It's before. It's before A New Hope, so that's still going on too. It's like, I think it's going pretty well without having Filoni and Favreau's hands in it. Are they involved? But I mean, you know, I'll just give him the reins on that too. You know what I mean? Because it's just going to basically lead up to Rogue One, which is going to lead up to their death. So, you know, these stories in the past, you know, they really should let them go, because there's only one point you're going to get to, and it's going to be death, right? And then, you know, we can't really put Boba Fett on Filoni, even though he had a hand in it. But, you know, Robert Rodriguez was the one who kind of steered that one right into the crabber.
Yeah, it's still the story, though. The story wasn't good. Yeah. So, I mean, if you give me some cheap ingredients and tell me to make you something to eat, that's not my fault. I'm making it the best I can. The ingredients was just poor.
Give me an Impossible Burger. A protein burger.
Well, Robert Rodriguez is a horrible chef. And he has never made a good burger. Protein, cheeseburger, Whopper. That guy has never made a good burger in his life. So before we let Joe close it out, because he is the Star Wars aficionado, as you will, I just want to remind all you ladies, gentlemen, and knights of the Nerd World Order that if you love this show as much as we love making this show, then we'd appreciate if you go click, share, and then you share it with your friends, your family, a whole list of haters that you want to be pissed off. Send it to them too, because you're doing better than them, because you're listening to this show right now and they're not. So you're one up on them. Share it with your friends, families, and foes so that they can listen to and enjoy the Nerd World Order broadcast. Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you.
The only thing I can say is go watch the show, watch the Rebels, the whole thing, not just the essentials. I think because you're missing out on some little key things, watch Ahsoka. If you're a Star Wars fan that's been disappointed in the way that things are going with Star Wars, watch Ahsoka and watch the Rebels, and then your love for Star Wars. Even the Bad Batch is good. So I think if you just watch those, you know, he's even cleaning stuff up in the Bad Batch, man. Like in the Bad Batch, he answered the question of what happened to the clones. Because, you know, everyone's, what happened to the clones, dude? All of a sudden, they're not using clones anymore. You know, he answers the questions in that. Again, let the man cook.
And this concludes this episode of the Nerd World Order broadcast. So until next time, ladies, gentlemen, and knights of the Nerd World Order, I am NWO.
We are NWO.
Nerds redefined. Booyah!